Spring returned softly to the hills. The bougainvillea at the gate began to bloom again, pink and bright against the faded walls. The fields shimmered with a tender green, and the air carried the smell of earth and sunlight. In that stillness, life at the small house flowed with the rhythm of ordinary happiness, slow, fragile, real. Tieu stepped out to hang the baby's tiny clothes. Her son clutched her sleeve, laughing as the wind brushed his face. From the yard, the sound of Truong's hammer echoed steadily. He worked near the shed, his shirt rolled to the elbows, sweat glinting in the morning light. Every so often, he glanced toward her quietly, almost nervously before returning to his task. "You've been fixing that bench for days," she teased. He smiled without looking up. "Some things need more care to last." She didn't notice the faint flush on his cheeks. He wasn't repairing a bench at all inside the shed. Beneath a folded cloth lay a small piece of guava wood, half carved into the shape of a box. His fingers trembled each time he touched it, not from the work, but from what it meant. After breakfast, their son napped while Truong's mother spread rice on a mat to dry. She watched him from the corner of her eye. "That's good wood you're hiding," she said at last. Truong nearly dropped his knife. "It's just scrap," he mumbled. She smiled faintly. "Guava is sweet. It remembers sunlight. Don't waste it on secrets you can't keep." Then she returned to her rice, pretending not to see his shy, grateful smile. By noon, the house smelled of lemongrass and warm rice. Tieu hummed while washing bowls, her voice drifting through the open window. Truong paused outside, listening. It was the same tune she used to hum when she waited for him. Quiet, steady, full of hope. He felt that song settling inside him, reminding him why he had begun carving in the first place. Later, as the sun tilted west, a neighbor stopped by the fence. "The festival will come soon," she said cheerfully. "The night of the lanterns, make a wish before you let it go." She winked and left. Tieu smiled after her. "Do you remember last year's festival?" Truong nodded. "That night, I thought I'd already had all my wishes answered." She looked at him, half amused, half touched. "You shouldn't say such things too easily." "They're true," he replied softly, and for a moment the air between them felt weightless. When the baby awoke, they all sat by the porch to watch the sunset. The child reached for the bougainvillea petals drifting in the wind, laughing at what he couldn't catch. Truong's mother watched them from the doorway, her heart full of a peace she had once thought she'd never find again. That night, after everyone slept, Truong lit the small lamp in the shed. He worked slowly, sanding the final edge of the wooden box. The light trembled across his face as he brushed away the dust. Inside the box, he planned to place a ring, a silver band carved with a single chrysanthemum, the flower Tieu loved most. He opened the lid and tested its sound. It fit perfectly soft, no resistance. A sign, he thought. From behind him came his mother's quiet voice. "It's beautiful," she said. "I knew you were making something for her." Truong turned, startled. "I wanted to ask her, when the lanterns float." She nodded, smiling gently. "Then, I'll bring the child, and we'll pretend not to see." For a long moment, they stood together in the faint light, a mother proud, a son nervous, both grateful for how far love had carried them. When he finally stepped outside, the moon had risen. The yard glowed pale and familiar. Through the window, he saw Tieu asleep with their child beside her. Her hand rested protectively over the blanket, her breathing slow and sure. He whispered to the night, as if rehearsing, "Will you marry me?" The words felt strange and simple, like a promise spoken too late, but still in time. A breeze stirred the bougainvillea. The petals brushed against the door and fell at his feet. Truong picked one up, turning it between his fingers, and smiled. Inside, the lamp flickered once before going out, leaving the house in quiet darkness. Tomorrow, he thought, the sky would fill with lanterns, and maybe with her answer. The following days unfolded with the calm precision of spring. The mornings smelled of wet soil and guava blossoms, and each evening ended with the quiet music of crickets and wind. To anyone else, life inside the small house seemed ordinary, but behind Truong's calm eyes, something secret was taking shape. He spent his afternoons in the shed behind the garden, pretending to mend tools. When Tieu called for him, he always answered cheerfully, his voice steady, never betraying the truth that his hands were shaking around something small and silver. He worked slowly, sanding, carving, polishing. The wooden box was almost finished now, smooth to the touch, warm under the lamplight, its lid carved with a single chrysanthemum. Sometimes, when the blade of the knife scraped too sharply, he stopped and whispered, "Don't rush." He wanted the piece to hold his patience, his gratitude, every heartbeat that had survived the storm between them. His mother often passed by the doorway, pretending to look for dried herbs or a broom she had already found. Each time, she saw the same image: her son bent over the workbench, the lamplight painting his face with gold and shadow. Once, she spoke softly, not to interrupt him, but to make sure he wasn't lost in his thoughts. "Love that grows quietly," she said, "is the kind that lasts through storms." Truong didn't turn around, but he smiled. "I'm trying to make it visible," he said. "You already have," she murmured, then left him with the silence of approval. Meanwhile, Tieu began to notice small changes. Truong would disappear after dinner, or come in from the yard with wood dust on his sleeves. He'd start sentences and never finish them, as if words were too fragile to carry what he wanted to say. Once, she found a thin strip of guava wood on the table, polished, smooth, its edges carved in tiny petals. She turned it over in her hand, puzzled, but when he entered the room, his startled look told her not to ask. She smiled instead. "You've been busy," he nodded, uneasy. "It helps me sleep." That night, she dreamed of lanterns, hundreds of them floating down the stream, carrying tiny flickers of hope. In the dream, one lantern refused to drift away. It stayed beside her, its flame steady even when the wind blew. She woke up with tears in her eyes and didn't know why. The next morning, the baby tried to take his first steps. Truong knelt a few feet away, arms outstretched, while Tieu stood behind their son, guiding him gently. The child stumbled, laughed, and fell into his father's embrace. The house filled with laughter, and Truong's mother clapped her hands. "See?" she said. "He runs before he walks, just like his father." Truong smiled, holding the child close. "Then, I'd better teach him not to leave the path." Tieu watched them together, father, son, and the woman who had once doubted her, but now looked at her with soft eyes. She thought, for a brief second, that life had never been this peaceful. Then she saw Truong glance at her, quick, uncertain, tender, and she realized that peace was never still. It moved, slowly, towards something new. That afternoon, while hanging clothes to dry, she saw his mother at the porch, sewing a small red pouch. The older woman's fingers moved fast, her face lit by the slanting sun. "What's that for, mother?" she asked. "A blessing," the woman said, smiling. "Every home needs one." Tieu nodded and returned to her work, but she couldn't help feeling a strange flutter in her chest, like the air just before rain. Inside the shed, Truong finished the last stroke of the carving. He opened the box, slid the small silver ring inside, and placed the red pouch beneath it, soft against hard, warmth beneath strength. He touched the ring's engraving, her name, and beside it, a single chrysanthemum. He had melted and reshaped a piece of old silver, once his father's cufflink, so that something of the past could bless the future. He whispered, "You waited for me. Let me spend the rest of my life arriving." Ah, he closed the lid, and for the first time in years, his hands stopped shaking. That evening, the air smelled of wood smoke and early rain. From the kitchen, Tieu called, "The soup's ready." He came in, wiping his hands, hiding the nervous smile tugging at his lips. They sat together, the three of them, under the faint golden light of the oil lamp. Truong's mother ladled soup into bowls, pretending not to watch him. "The festival's soon," she said casually. "You should take her to the river that night. The lanterns bring luck to those who wish together." Tieu looked up. "Do you believe that, Mother?" The woman smiled. "I didn't, until you came." Truong almost laughed, but he swallowed the sound. Instead, he reached for Tieu's hand beneath the table. A small gesture, brief but certain. She didn't pull away. Later, when the house grew quiet, he stepped outside again. The stars trembled faintly above the hills. He thought of the night he'd proposed the sound of the river, the glow of lanterns on the water, their son in his mother's arms nearby. He imagined Tieu's face lit by the flickering gold, her eyes widening, not in surprise, but in understanding. He would kneel then, not to ask for forgiveness this time, but to offer forever. Behind him, the door opened softly. Tieu stepped out, wrapping a shawl around her shoulders. "You're awake?" she said. "I was listening to the wind," he replied. "It sounds different tonight. Maybe it's the season changing." He smiled. "Maybe it's us." They stood together under the pale moonlight, the baby's soft breathing audible through the open window behind them. She leaned against him, her head on his shoulder, unaware that under his sleeve, his hand rested protectively over the wooden box. Love, the narrator's voice might say, does not announce itself with thunder. It builds quietly, like a secret carved into wood, waiting for the right night to speak. And in that gentle stillness, Truong closed his eyes, whispering once more to himself. Soon, the night arrived wrapped in gold and wind. All afternoon, the village had been alive with noise, the laughter of children chasing paper lanterns, the calls of women setting out offerings, the sound of drums echoing faintly from the hill. As the sun dipped behind the horizon, everything slowed, softened, and began to glow. From the small house near the foot of the hill, light spilled gently through the doorway. Tieu dressed their son in a clean cotton shirt and tied a red cord around his wrist, a small wish for safety. "He'll lose it in 5 minutes," Truong said, smiling as he adjusted the boy's collar. "Then we'll tie another one," she replied. His mother came out, holding a basket covered with cloth. "Sticky rice and tea," she said, "for the river spirits and for later, when you've both forgotten to eat." Truong grinned. "You're not coming with us?" "I'll follow with the boy," she said, her eyes soft with mischief. "You two go ahead. The night's too short for hesitation." Tieu laughed, shaking her head, but a blush rose to her cheeks. She didn't see Truong slip the small wooden box into his pocket, the red pouch hidden beneath his sleeve. The road to the river shimmered under the lanterns. Strings of light hung between the bamboo poles, casting gentle reflections on the damp path. The air smelled of sugar cakes and smoke. As they walked, people greeted them, the shopkeeper with his wide smile, the neighbor who had once whispered cruelly, but now waved warmly. At the bridge, hundreds of lanterns floated like drifting stars upon the water. Their light flickered and merged, turning the river into a moving ribbon of gold. The sound of laughter rose and fell like music. Tieu leaned on the railing, her son in her arms. "I used to watch from the hill," she said. "When you were gone, I'd tell myself that every lantern was a prayer that might reach you." Truong stood beside her, watching her face more than the water. "Maybe it did," he said. "Maybe that's how I found the way back." She smiled faintly, the kind that hides tears. "Then, tonight we should send one more to thank the wind for bringing you home." He nodded, his hand unconsciously brushing the pocket where the box waited. They lit a lantern together. Tieu held it steady while Truong shielded the flame from the breeze. When it finally lifted, its golden reflection trembling on the surface below, she whispered, "For peace. And for courage," he added softly. They watched it drift away, their fingers still touching. Around them, the sound of the river mingled with murmured prayers and laughter. The baby clapped his hands, enchanted by the light. After a moment, Truong's mother appeared nearby, holding the child's small basket of rice. "Go on," she said, smiling. "Take a walk. He'll stay with me." And Tieu hesitated, but the older woman nodded firmly. "He's safe. Go before the wind changes." The couple stepped onto the narrow path along the bank. The crowd thinned, replaced by the soft hum of water and the flicker of faraway lanterns. The moon hung low, caught between clouds, and the world seemed painted in silver and amber. Tieu brushed a stray hair from her face. "It's beautiful tonight," she murmured. Truong's heart thudded. "Yes," he said quietly. "I wanted you to remember this light." They stopped where the river curved, hidden from the noise of the village. The lanterns drifted past like dreams, carrying wishes they'd never know. Truong took a deep breath. "There's something I've been meaning to tell you," he began. She looked at him, curious but calm. "What is it?" He reached into his pocket and pulled out the small box. The moonlight caught on its surface, revealing the carved chrysanthemum. For a second, Tieu didn't move. The world seemed to still around the two of them. "I made this for you," he said softly, "from the same tree that held our son's cradle." She opened her mouth, but no sound came. He knelt before her, not out of ritual but instinct, his voice trembling slightly. "When I came back, I thought I was just asking for forgiveness, but what I truly wanted was time. Time to learn how to love you right. You gave me that. Every sunrise since has been a gift I don't deserve." Her eyes glistened. "Truong." He lifted the lid. Inside lay the silver ring, its band engraved with her name and a tiny flower. "You waited for me through storms," he said, "and I want to spend my life waiting beside you through every quiet day that follows. Will you marry me?" The river whispered against the rocks. A breeze lifted the edge of her scarf. For a heartbeat, Tieu said nothing, only stared at him, at the man who had once been lost, who had come back changed, but still hers. Then her tears fell, silent and warm. "You already have everything," she said softly. "Why ask for more?" "Because I want to name it," he answered. "I want our peace to have a word." She pressed her hand over her mouth, then reached for the ring. "Then the word is forever," she whispered. He slipped the ring onto her finger, his hands trembling. The silver gleamed faintly in the moonlight. Around them, the lanterns continued to drift downstream, their light multiplying in reflection. Behind them, Truong's mother stood at a distance, holding their sleeping child. She smiled through her tears, whispering a prayer that no one heard. She lit one last lantern, let it go, and watched it rise higher, slower, carrying the quiet joy of three hearts. Tieu turned to Truong. "Do you remember what I wished for last year?" He smiled. "A home." She nodded. "Now it has walls and laughter." He took her hand, his thumb brushing the ring. "And your name carved into the wood." The moon rose higher, painting the river silver. Somewhere far down the stream, their lantern flickered once, then vanished into the night, not gone, but carried. Some love stories, the narrator's voice might say, don't end in fireworks or grand vows. They end in quiet promises spoken under lantern light, held by hands that have already learned what forever means. And beneath that sky, with the scent of guava blossoms and water around them, Tieu leaned into Truong's chest, her tears falling against his shirt like petals. His arms closed around her gently, as if afraid the moment might break, but it didn't. The river moved on. The night deepened, and in the hush between heartbeats, peace answered back. Dawn came quietly, like a sigh of relief after a long-held breath. The river still shimmered faintly with the drifting ashes of lanterns from the night before. Some had gone out, some still glowed weakly, fragile stars clinging to the current. The first birds began to call from the trees, and mist hung low across the fields, silvering the tips of the grass. At the small house by the hill, the door creaked open. Truong stepped out barefoot, his hair still damp from washing. The morning air smelled of wood smoke and tea leaves. He looked toward the gate, where the bougainvillea had scattered petals across the path, pink and white against the brown earth. For the first time in years, he felt a peace that reached all the way to his bones. Inside, Tieu was stirring the fire, her movements unhurried. On her finger, the silver ring caught the light each time she turned her wrist. When Truong's mother entered the kitchen, she stopped for a moment, noticing the glint, and smiled. "So it's done," the old woman said softly. Tieu turned, embarrassed, the blush rising to her cheeks. "He didn't give me a chance to say no." "Good," the mother laughed. "You've both waited long enough." She came closer, touching the younger woman's shoulder. "I saw how you looked at each other last night. Your hearts spoke more clearly than your mouths ever could." Tieu's eyes warmed. "You were watching?" "I've been watching since the day you first stepped into this house," the woman replied. "Last night, I finally saw it breathe again." Outside, Truong called through the window. "Breakfast smells too good to wait." Tieu smiled and set 3 bowls on the table. When Truong came in, he carried their son, still half asleep, wrapped in a small blanket. The baby's hand reached lazily for his mother's face, then rested against the soft fabric of her scarf. They ate in easy silence, a silence full of warmth. Every small sound seemed tender, the scrape of chopsticks, the bubbling of the kettle, the soft sighs of their child. Truong's mother poured tea into their cups. "I'll go to the temple later," she said, "to thank those who sent him back." Truong chuckled. "Do you think they're still listening?" "They always listen," she replied, "but only when we whisper." After breakfast, the day unfolded gently. Truong repaired the fence near the garden. Tieu washed the linens under the sunlight. Their son toddled around, chasing butterflies. From the yard, laughter rose every few minutes, small bursts of joy that wove themselves into the breeze. When noon came, the family rested beneath the bougainvillea. The flowers above them rustled softly, releasing a shower of petals that landed in Tieu's lap. Truong lay beside her, eyes closed, his arm draped across her knees. His mother dozed nearby, her head tilted toward the sound of the wind. Tieu looked down at her hand, tracing the curve of the silver ring. It was simple, unpolished, slightly uneven, but she loved it for that. It felt real, like their love, built by hand, imperfect, and meant to last. "Do you regret it?" Truong asked suddenly. Without opening his eyes, she smiled. "Which part?" "All of it." She thought for a moment, watching their child stumble through the grass. "Sometimes," she said softly, "but only the waiting, never the loving." He turned to her then, eyes bright in the filtered light. I used to think love was a promise we make once, but I see now it's something we keep making every day. She brushed a petal from his hair. Then, let's keep making it. A warm breeze swept across the yard, and the sound of chimes drifted from the temple far away. The moment was so quiet, so ordinary, that it felt sacred. Later that afternoon, Truong's mother returned from the temple, carrying a small clay bell. The monk said, "It brings peace," she said. I told him we already had enough, but he insisted. She hung it by the window, and when the wind touched it, the bell sang a soft note that lingered in the air. At sunset, the family gathered for tea on the porch. The sky flamed with orange and violet, clouds glowing like embers. Their son clapped his hands at the sight, shouting, "Light!" Tieu laughed and lifted him high. "Light," she repeated, "always light." Truong leaned back, watching them. The world felt almost too full. He thought of the nights he'd slept in strange towns, the faces he'd forgotten, the ache that had carried him home. All of it, every lost road, every silence had led to this moment. He reached for her hand, thumb brushing the ring again. "I used to dream of a day that looked like this," he said quietly. "And now?" she asked. "Now, I don't want to wake up." His mother, sitting beside them, chuckled softly. "Then don't," she said. "Stay awake to it." When darkness settled, they lit a single lantern and placed it on the porch. It swayed gently, its light golden and small, not grand like the ones floating on the river, but enough to warm their faces. Tieu rested her head on Truong's shoulder, her hand resting over his heart. "It's strange," she whispered. "After so many storms, peace feels fragile, like it could disappear if we stop holding it." He looked at her, his voice steady. "Then, we'll hold it together." Their son stirred in her lap, mumbling in his sleep, and she smiled. "He's dreaming," she said. "Let him," Truong whispered. "Dreams built this house." From inside, the clay bell chimed once more, soft and low. The night deepened, the lantern flickered, and for a long time, no one spoke. Words would have been too small for what the moment held. Above them, the stars appeared one by one, bright and patient. Tieu lifted her eyes toward the sky, the silver ring catching starlight. "Some endings," the narrator's voice would say, "are not goodbyes. They are breaths between chapters, the pause before another day begins." She looked at Truong, her voice no louder than a heartbeat. "Thank you for coming back." He kissed her hair, smiling. "Thank you for waiting." And beneath the quiet sky, their lantern burned on steady, unwavering, the kind of light that does not fade, only deepens with time.